Share my screen. All right, welcome to the advisory committee meeting of Tuesday, September 30th. We have one item on the agenda for tonight, which is a report, review and possible vote on warrant article 6, which is the zoning for family childcare homes. If there's any members of the public who want to speak on this matter before we start our discussion, now will be a time to drop your name in the chat and we'll call on you. And if not, I believe we'll turn it over to Carlos for the report.
Yes, thank you, Dennis. So this is a pretty straightforward warrant article, Article 6. Sorry, I was just reading my report. It seems like it put the wrong article on the top, but Article 6, because there's not much we can do from our perspective. Article 6 amends the zoning bylaw to align with recent changes that the state has made to the Dover Amendment. As many of you may know, the Dover Amendment is an amendment to Massachusetts law which exempts certain land uses, for example, religious or education or childcare, from many local zoning restrictions. This allows for someone to propose a project or to build a project without adhering to all zoning rules. And typically, the municipalities can impose reasonable regulations, for example, building size, height, setbacks, or similar design elements to the project. What's different about the changes that the governor included in the FY25 state budget and the legislature signed in on July 29th, was that now the amendment explicitly recognizes family child care homes and large family child care homes as allowable uses, and it disallows or prohibits local towns, municipalities to regulate these in any way regarding zoning ordinances. So they're still regulated by health department, but we cannot impose any kind of zoning ordinance like we would on other Dover Amendment land uses. So right now, the town zoning bylaw requires these large family child care homes to obtain a special permit if they want to exist, and then they have to go through a whole very extensive application process. I will note that the one important part is that this is different from child care or daycare centers, where the daycare center, the primary use is the daycare center. The family and large family child care homes is an accessory use. So the principal use of the lot will still be, for example, a home, residential, and is still subject to regulation, but it's the accessory part, which is the large family and child care homes, that will be classified as an accessory and then exempt from all zoning regulation. So we, as the Department of Planning and Community Development has advised, we just have to change our bylaws to include in the table of uses the accessory use of large family child care homes, and that's it. When we met on last week, let's see, what day we meet on.
22nd.
September 22nd. We talked about Well, we acknowledged that we couldn't really do much about it, but we talked about what does it mean to for all these possible new childcare homes. What does it mean to the town? And as one of the members, former members of the Park and Rec um, Commission mentioned, our parks, especially in North Brookline, are heavily used, and a lot of these childcare uses will end up using them more. But we can't regulate that either. So we were just made aware of that. And we also had some discussion and questions about how it would work in a condo, um, not in a single family home, for example, but in a condominium building, and what it would mean to for parking, building services, et cetera, et cetera. Um, we also it was also discussed that they still have to go through the whole health department um, process to get that to get the permitting. But since that part is really not part of this warrant article, we didn't um, we didn't dwell on that too much. So by a motion, by a vote of 7-0, with no abstentions, we voted to recommend to the full advisory that we make these amendments to our zoning bylaw. And
Maria, as the petitioner, did you have anything you wanted to add to that report?
No, that was very complete. Thank you for asking.
All right. So let's go to any questions or comments from the committee.
Well, I'll start. Anthony, you should put your name in the chat if you want to speak.
You're right. I forgot how this works.
Carlos, when you discuss the condos, I'm assuming a condo association can still prohibit this as a business or something in the condo, correct? Or did you did, or was the issue just raised and not really discussed?
it was discussed. I think I saw that we have Jonathan Simpson here, so I think he should be best answering that question.
Yeah, happy to answer. Yeah, this would not touch any arrangement within the condo master deed, the condo regs. It's a private arrangement, and even to the extent that that it is governed under state law, it's not governed under 40A, which is the zoning statute. So it would not affect how a condo could or might prohibit this in its own documents.
Thank you. And I will just remind people, if they wish to speak, put your name in the chat. The chat seems to have changed a bit. I think you have to hit everyone in order to have it appear for everyone. Everyone in the upper left corner. Harry Bors.
Yeah, I'd like to get a better sense of the dimensional aspect of the zoning. I understand that this would change the use, that you could have a family daycare business essentially as of right. But I don't know just exactly how that translates to the zoning of the structure itself. Does that mean if I decide I want to have a large family daycare and I take in, let's say, I think you can take a maximum of 10 children, and I decide that's great, but the house could be better equipped for all these kids. So I want to do an 1,800 square foot addition to my home that would bring me to within, I don't know, just say within a foot of the lot line. Is that solely permitted, sort of like a Dover exemption, that you can do that, or are you still confined by the zoning for the area? It's just a use issue.
So my understanding is, and here's, I think, another point that I mentioned, but I should stress more strongly, which is the other Dover Amendment uses can be reasonably regulated, but when they made this amendment to the Dover amendment, they took away the word reasonable. So it no longer can be regulated. So my guess would be that no, but David,
Yeah, so what I think very important is that childcare homes is an accessory use versus a daycare center, which is a primary use. So we're talking about residential properties, and I believe, staff Maria and Jonathan can be more authoritative here, but we just aren't allowed to regulate the accessory use under zoning whatsoever. We just can't have anything in the zoning that speaks to the accessory use, but it is an accessory use. So my assumption is that in terms of enlarging your house, that's your house, and you have to deal with zoning in whatever, however that works. So special permit, variance, whatever, if you want to make your house bigger, it's the house that you're making bigger.
Okay, so this is use only, not the dimensions.
Well, it's any we're removing any regulation. We're listing them as allowed uses as an accessory use, and we are removing any regulation from our zoning bylaw. It only addresses zoning bylaw and zoning ordinances. So building department, building code, health, police, everything else is not spoken to here.
So the zoning bylaw, which dictates dimensions, is that no longer in effect for this use now?
an
Maria?
accessory use.
I would say that, and Jonathan, if you prefer to lead with that, but the dimensions are for the principal use. Those are the dimensional requirements are for the principal use. So the dimensional requirements for the principal use are not regulating the accessory use. But Jonathan, do you see an argument where someone might put on an addition for an express accessory use or a detached use, where they could make an argument to usurp the zoning?
No, the bylaw does none of the dimensional requirements apply to accessory uses at all. You're always looking at the structure as a whole. So the way it's the way our bylaw works. They would not be able to make that argument.
Okay, just the use then. Okay, thank you.
But one clarification. So, like, for example, a garage is an accessory use, or an ADU has also been an accessory use. Can you enlarge the garage? I mean, you can. There are rules about how the garage is located as an accessory use, but could you do the same thing for a childcare area space?
No, because it is the underlying use is a residence, and that's what's the dimensional requirements apply to. I do not believe you could.
So you might want to have a large childcare home, but there are regs not in zoning about how much it doesn't require a lot of space for each kid, but there's a minimum amount of space per kid, and there's a certain amount of space required that's dedicated play, like the play space, 250 square feet or something like that. And your house would have to, in order to get your permits, which the town would issue to operate, you'd need to deal with those things. They're just not in zoning.
Anthony has taken his name off. Maria or Jonathan, what is the definition of a large family childcare as far as number of kids? Is that part of the definition?
Yes. So if you look at the article under the changes to the use table 4.07, We've actually copied verbatim the definition from Mass General Law Mass General Law, Chapter 15D, Section 1A. So the definition here is, and I can read it to you if you wish, or you can just.
I don't have access to it right now.
Okay.
So if you could
All
read
right.
it, that'd be
Yep.
great.
So use 60A cites this definition: a private residence which on a regular basis receives for temporary custody and care during part or all of the day children under 7 years of age or children under 16 years of age, if those children have special needs, and receives for temporary custody and care for a limited number of hours children of school age under regulations adopted by the board. The total number of children under 16, I believe that means 16 years of age. We're copying this from the statute. In a family child care home shall not exceed 6, including participating children living in the residence as defined by Mass General Law, Chapter 15D, Section 1A, or its successor. That's family child care home. Large family child care home is a private residence which on a regular basis receives for temporary custody and care during part or all of the day children under 7 years of age or children under 16 years of age if such children have special needs, and receives for temporary custody and care for a limited number of hours children of school age under regulations promulgated by the board, but the number of children under the age of 16 in a large family child care home shall not exceed 10, including participating children living in the residence. A large family child care home shall have at least one approved assistant when the total number of children participating in child care exceeds 6.
Thank you. Dennis, unless David Mark.
Okay, just had a trouble unmuting. So does that mean that if somebody gets a foster child, that would be included in that definition that you just gave, Maria?
I believe so.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Lisa Jonas.
I'm sorry, I'm still puzzled. Is it what I just wrote there? Is the zoning just relevant for uses, or is it also dimensional? And just following up on Harry's question, if it also is the dimensions, under what circumstances would this household be affected? If they have an accessory use that they're using it for family daycare.
So this doesn't pertain to accessory structures, but accessory uses accessory to the principal dwelling.
And I would also add, Elisa, that just the way that they define family child care homes and large family child care homes, as Maria was just reading, it makes it clear that it's a private residence that on a temporary basis takes these in. So the zoning dimensionally is still going to be applied to the private residence. The residence itself doesn't receive any sort of exemption. And once you start building accessory structures you're not living in, you're no longer treating it as a family child care home. It's not your residence anymore. You're building something completely separate that our zoning could, theoretically still apply to.
So it sounds like it is just the uses, right?
Yes, I would.
Yeah,
yes.
okay. Okay.
Anybody else? Dennis, I think we're ready for a motion.
All right, Carlos.
So I move favorable action on warrant article 6 as presented by the petitioner.
Okay, so we're going to vote on our recommendation of favorable action on warrant article 6 as presented by the petitioner. And let me share my screen. Michael Berger.
Yes.
Ben Birnbaum.
Yes.
Harry Boers.
Yes.
Cliff Brown.
Yes.
Anthony Buono.
Yes.
Elise Couture-Stone.
Yes.
Couture-Stone.
Couture.
I'll get that pronunciation. Couture-Stone.
Yeah, no worries.
John Doggett. Is he not?
I don't think he's here.
Traveling.
Harry
traveling.
Harry Friedman,
As a protest against increased state interference, I'm voting no.
all right, David Mark Goldstein,
Yes.
Neil Gordon,
Yes.
Susan Granoff,
Yes.
Harry Grossman,
Yes.
Kelly Hardebeck,
Yes.
Elisa Jonas,
Yes.
Janice Kahn,
I don't think she's here.
Brian Ladd,
Yes.
Alec Lebovitz,
Yes.
Carol Levin,
Yes.
Liz Linder,
I don't believe
not
she's
here, I don't think,
here.
Pam Lodish,
Yes.
Jocelyn Murphy,
Jocelyn's not here.
Donnell O'Neill,
Yes.
Linda Olson Pelkey,
I'm going to say yes because I was on the subcommittee, so I
Okay.
missed the discussion, but I think it's fair unless something drastic
Nope.
came up.
Nope.
Okay.
Fran Perler,
Yes.
David Pollock,
Yes.
Carlos Rodrigo,
Yes.
Margaret Robotham,
Yes.
Lee Selwyn,
I don't believe he's here.
Christine Westfall.
I don't believe she's here.
Okay, by a vote of 22 in favor, 1 opposed, no abstention, our recommendation is favorable action on warrant Article 6. And for you, the newcomers, Margaret and Elise, this is exactly how all advisory committee meetings go. They're efficient. They're almost unanimous. Harry votes no, but other than that, we're always in agreement. So take a cue from.
And we're done by 7:22.
And we're done by 7:22. No, so seriously, Harry, you want to outline what our schedule is for the
Yes.
next couple of meetings?
So this is our last meeting for full advisory for this week because of Yom Kippur. We are meeting on next Tuesday, the 7th, but I believe, Dennis, correct me if I'm wrong, it will be on Zoom.
I think that's correct.
Okay, and then we will also be meeting next Thursday, the 9th, presumably on Zoom. There will be no executive session on Thursday, the 9th. The executive session has been indefinitely postponed. I believe, and Dennis, again, help me here, starting the week of the 14th, we're going to meet live on Tuesdays.
Yes.
Okay, so next week, both meetings are virtual. Starting the 14th, we're live on Tuesday and virtual on Thursday.
And as I understand it, there's been a ton of subcommittee meetings that have been going on, which is great. And we are, if you have concerns about getting materials in on time, or if there's any issues related to recommendations from the committees and we need more time, Carla Benka is continuing to rearrange our schedule to be accommodating, and we still have flexibility. I'm not worried about getting everything done. This is a late warrant. So
Yes.
with that, yes?
I'm sorry, this is Jonathan Simpson. When you go back to in person in a couple weeks on Tuesdays, people can still participate remotely, like if I have to jump between meetings or something like that.
Correct.
Yes. Although for committee members, we're encouraging you to show up live, but they will be hybrid.
Thank you.
Right. And we're encouraging, I mean, clearly when we have if we ever have that executive session, it would be great if everybody, who's going to be participating in that could be in person rather than remote. It works better. And as you know, from past experience, the meetings generally are more efficient and more productive in person than they are over Zoom. So the more people that show up, the better it tends to be.
I just put the next 4 meeting dates and agenda in the chat.
Great. Thank you. David, did you have your hand raised?
Well, just an announcement if you're done.
Yes, go ahead.
So I attended a fascinating ad hoc subcommittee meeting last night, chaired by Harry Bors, and Harry can speak to this, but at the request of the moderator, Dennis put together a small group to to look at social media and online communication and communication on the listserv by advisory committee members, and just try to help us develop some guidelines and help Dennis develop some standards, practices, guidelines on what we should and shouldn't be doing and everything. But one thing that came out from this meeting that Harry passed along, having met with town council about communications, was that, and I'm speaking here to the land use subcommittee, but I think it's interesting to everybody. The process that land use subcommittee adopted and voted a year ago for development and approval of our minutes is not looked on favorably by town council, because even though it's just minutes, there's a sort of a deliberative quality to us passing edits back and forth. And so I'm going to be writing the only set of outstanding minutes for land use subcommittee. So what I will do is I will simply give my draft of those minutes to Lisa for posting to an AC meeting or to something, and then I'll let you all know that they're available, so that then you can, and I can, once they're posted, I can actually email them to you. But then what you'll need to do is essentially bring your edits to either a land use subcommittee meeting or some kind of a meeting, and we won't be able to use the process that we adopted, in which you guys just sent me your edits, and then if I didn't hear from you, the minutes were approved. We have to not have that for the moment, the tacit approval in that way, and we'll just go back to editing minutes in an actual meeting setting. So
I don't understand what the issue is there with what we
Harry,
had.
you want to explain?
Sure. The issue, as it was explained to us, is that you are no longer in an open meeting and you are having a deliberation. If you're discussing the minutes, it's a deliberation. That's illegal.
But how are we discussing it if we're simply reviewing it on our own and sending changes to David?
Well, that is up for interpretation. We have been told quite explicitly that is deliberation, even if you're just doing it to
remove a semicolon, I think was the technical term.
Yeah,
that was used.
even to fix punctuation, that it's a deliberation.
Oh, for crying out loud.
So what we have done, just, it's like a lot of things. There's keeping up with the spirit of the law and keeping up with the letter of the law, and sometimes those two things converge and sometimes they diverge. But the way we've gotten around it is one person gets assigned to write the minutes, and when they have a draft, it gets dropped into the meeting packet for the next meeting, because we know it's coming up, which means at that point it is in the public domain for anybody to retrieve at any time, including other subcommittee members or committee members. And they are certainly welcome to make their own edits as they so deem fit, and drop their copy in that meeting packet. And oh, by the way, send a copy to everybody else on the committee. And it becomes a way of, in essence, having a publicly documented deliberation should push come to shove.
So the
And yes,
select
it's
board
a bit like
members,
scratching your head like this, but as we understand, it's necessary.
Yeah, but that comes without 48-hour notice of a posted meeting, so you can't get there that way.
No, it goes to a posted meetings packet. Anyway, that is
You can deliberate by packet now. That's great. Good.
Well, in essence, that's what you're doing. So this is what we worked out with town council when we had this issue, that would technically be permissible. Yes, it's a little bit kludgy. Yes, it takes a leap of faith in terms of your colleagues, and if you want to assign it to one person, although some of us are really happy to assign it to one person and not have to go back and review and edit, but that's just where things stand right now.
This is worthy of a test. You should do it, Harry, and I'll file the complaint and see how the AG deals with it.
Oh, it's
So
been.
two questions. First of all, can we even have this discussion right now since it hasn't been noted?
Noticed?
Well,
And-
I thought about that a minute ago,
Isn't
when
that-
David brought it up, but.
Right. And the
Uh,
second
Other
one is,
business?
so does this mean that the select board sends all their, the select board does not send any edits to
Correct.
of meetings
Correct.
to,
It is done through staff in sort of a hub and spoke approach.
so when you send it to the staff, it's okay?
Yes, it cannot, as I understand it, it can't be generated by a select board member and then sent to other select board members. But
Right, but we're not
they
doing
can
that.
send it to staff. Staff can take their
Okay.
staff can
Right.
take other members' edits, but they can't be shared around.
So we can hire assistants for every subcommittee, and then we're all set
If you
until we have that.
If you want to spend 2 very long evenings discussing this with town council, I'm sure that we can arrange it. It gets a little convoluted.
I think Lisa's job just got a lot more complicated.
So we have-
Actually,
we have-
I want to stick to the chat. Carol, you had a question?
Well, my recollection was we were voting to authorize the subcommittee chair to write and approve the minutes. That this in no way impacts that.
That
routine.
does not impact that. This would be, say, on a subcommittee, somebody's writing minutes. And the inclination has always been, you write the minutes, you pass it around, somebody looks, they send you their comments.
Well, that's your mistake.
Right.
All right, so on the capital subcommittee, we can keep on doing it by fiat, fine, that's all I care.
Unless when you write the minutes, Carol, you talk to yourself and say, Carol, is that what I really want to say? Then there's a deliberation and you can't do it that way anymore.
Well, I always talk to myself, but okay.
Just don't
Right
send them out to your colleagues without having them being deposited into the packet for the next posted meeting. And then you're covered.
Got it.
Susan?
Okay, so I'm going to clarify a modification of this. Our subcommittee has voted to have the chair approve all minutes, but the chair isn't necessarily or often or ever the person writing the minutes. There is a need to, if you're approving it, you may find errors and you want those changed, and you tell the person who wrote the minutes to make the change. Is that no longer permissible?
As we understood it, that then becomes a deliberation.
Not absent.
Okay, but
quorum.
under open meeting law, it says very clearly that the chair can approve or disapprove of minutes. The assumption has to be that if there is something that's a problem, that the chair should be permitted to tell whoever wrote the minutes to make a change, or else what's the point?
I do not argue with that level of reasonableness. I will just say in our conversations, we ran into difficulty in that line of discussion. So it's just a heads up.
You can have the conversation so long as it's not a serial quorum.
Right,
Or
if it's just with the person who is supposed to make the change.
If 2 is not a quorum, one person writes the
Right.
minutes.
Yeah, but
You can.
town
have
council
lunch
said
together.
2 is a quorum.
2 is a deliberation.
This is
You
new.
can't have a
This is
deliberation.
new. Yeah, this is new.
You can deliberate with a
So
non-quorum.
I'm still inclined, by the way, to agree with Neil that at some point we're going to need a test case and actually because the fact that the ground rules keep changing is going to be long-term untenable.
And I think the reality is at some point, we're going to have town council here for an evening where all of these questions get asked and back and forth. And I would say have a big cup of coffee and come early.
But Harry, not until your
Not yet.
subcommittee
No.
reports
It's
out.
premature. It's just be aware that the notion of having a deliberation outside of a publicly posted open meeting is problematic, and look for ways to avoid that. And I'll just leave it at that. And I'll assume that that's exactly what everybody's doing.
Well, open meeting law permits us to select the chair to have final approval. If that has no meaning, then we're undercutting one of the provisions of the open meeting law.
Well, I won't argue, like I said, I
Yeah.
won't argue with the reasonableness of it.
So, Susan, just to be clear, the arguments that you are making are indistinguishable from arguments that many of us have also made. So we're, I don't want to go into another area
Right.
of
No.
conversation about this, but I think that when the ad hoc subcommittee comes back, will be a good time to get town council here to have more conversation about this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anthony?
Sorry, guys, I don't want to get any more off track, but so like you just said, I heard 2 is a quorum. So if I have a question about a warrant article and I want to know Dennis's opinion, can I call Dennis and be like, hey, Dennis, what do you think about warrant article 7? I can't do that.
I think if you're on separate committees and you're not considering that article, but if you, let's say you had a hearing and you were one of you was writing up the minutes and the other one called the other one and want to have a conversation. Hey, what do you remember? What do you think? And another person said, oh yeah, I recall that. No, remember they said this, you want to put that in there also. That at that point, that would be construed a deliberation outside of the meeting, and that wouldn't be permissible.
Okay, now, but real quick, zoom it outside of the minutes. Like, what if it doesn't have to do with minutes? And I'm just like, Dennis, what is this? What do you think about this warrant article? It says A. Do you agree with A? Am I not allowed to do that?
That's a good question.
The test is always, is it a quorum?
I know, that's
Yeah.
why I'm confused now. I've always
Yeah,
thought
that's
it was
my-
a quorum.
But there's also the issue of deliberations. We'll have to have town.
You
we'll-
can
Yeah, we have
deliberate
to- we're gonna have to-
with less than a quorum.
We're not going to get the answer here tonight. We'll have to talk to
That's
town
right. We're
council
not
about
going to
it.
get the answer here tonight.
You're not going to get the answer if you invite town council.
Well, you'll
I-
get
I
an
volunteer to
answer
be
and
the
you'll know
plaintiff
where
in the
some
test
edges
case.
are, and then you can use your best judgment as to how to apply those.
Well,
I just looked at the open meeting law, and it defines what a quorum is. And it's a simple majority. So
yes.
But that's different than deliberations.
no, if it's when the quorum, that's who can deliberate. Oh, well, sorry. Well,
And anyway, it's
Yeah, we gotta-
it's a conversation
Yeah.
with town council.
I don't
Yeah, we
see how
gotta-
what the select board's doing is kosher either, because they're making changes without deliberation.
Well,
So
they-
who's making those decisions?
They send those to staff. They don't share them amongst themselves.
That we
So
know of.
That was the distinction that was presented to us.
They just don't admit to sharing it amongst themselves. I
Yeah.
think that's
But yeah. So at any rate,
Elise.
just be aware it's something else to keep you agitated in the meantime. And,
I promise
and it
with
will be
all my
coming
heart.
back. And it will
I
be
promise
coming
with
back.
all my heart to never deliberate with any of you outside of a Zoom call. I promise.
Mm.
At the risk of dumbing this down because I'm a newbie, what if I just want to reach out to a colleague and say, hey, how do you think that hearing went? Is that part of this?
One
Like, am
that-
I even able
a
to ask
hearing-
a friendly question or?
A hearing that you've already had?
Yes.
As I understand it, technically you can't deliberate outside of the meeting.
But if
Okay.
the vote has already been taken,
Oh, well, that's interesting. If a vote is already.
Yeah.
Well, do you mean by the subcommittee or by the full committee?
The subcommittee. So say I want to reach out to a colleague and say, hey, how do you think that went? You know, do you feel good about it or whatever? Just a friendly question. Not necessarily politics per se. It sounds like this might be restricted.
I think you're new enough here that you have the benefit of plausible deniability and you can give it a go.
I mean, to Neil's point, our understanding has always been that kind of conversation was okay. And the the question we're wrestling with right now is how to deal with inconsistent guidance that we've been getting from town council.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
And that if you called everybody on the committee one after another and got their opinion, that would be clearly out of bounds.
That's a serialized quorum. And one thing we will
Yeah.
also hear, and this gets back to intent versus the law, and this is going to come back in other things, is if you only do this with one person, then it may be said, well, you did it with one person, but there's no guarantee they're not going to do it with the other one, and that you're going to get a serialized quorum. Not to say that it happened, but it could happen. And that was another argument that we sort of had to wrestle with when we were discussing this. Did it happen or could it happen? Letter versus intent. And yeah,
I personally have a
all
lot of
kind of
trouble
muddy.
with the idea that you can't do something because you might go on to do something else that would make it illegal later.
I
I agree with Dennis.
They just don't do the second thing.
You can't press your foot on the accelerator because you might later choose to speed. It seems crazy to me personally. Just don't speed.
Easier for you to say than some of us, but yeah.
Yeah, by the way, just to confuse everybody, if the subject matter of a prior meeting is not coming back to that body, feel free to talk as much as you want.
Mhm.
But it
Yeah,
could
but
be
see,
under
it might come
reconsideration.
back, Neil.
Well, then, yes.
Never
Yes, it
say
might.
This is
You can always reconsider.
all right. I'm gonna suggest we adjourn. Then
Second,
Are we allowed to talk about that or not?
Thank you.
Dennis, could you stay on for a moment at the
Yeah.
end?
Yes, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, by the way, I sent you an email, Dennis. I know
Okay.
we had our public hearing on warrant article 1, so
Okay.
check the box.
Too much
Okay, great.
information.
Thank you. All right.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.